Sup team, how we going? First off, I just want to say a huge thank you to all you out there for supporting this Assorted Kiwi podcast. Life is assorted, taste is assorted, our minds are assorted, and our stories are assorted. The Assorted Kiwi podcast is where Kiwis can share their assorted perspectives, ideas, and dreams. Assorted is all about Kiwis connecting through what is important to them. Every idea is important to who you are. Some may miss, but the best ideas are the ones that challenge ways of thinking and also emotionally connect people to one another. This is the definition of the Assorted Kiwi.
Yo, 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 how you going? Welcome back to this Assorted Kiwi show, aka Origins. I'm your host with the most, Hamish, aka the Assorted Kiwi. Got a special guest on the couch today. To my left, to your right, got Young Ghost, aka, well, not aka, it's Casper.
Yeah.
AKA Young Ghost, but really it's just Young Ghost, the only Young Ghost.
Yeah.
Because of your actual name, AG.
Yeah, or just Casper, like however you want to put it. Really.
Whatever you want to do it, bro.
Yeah.
But just a quick intro about this brother to the left of me. Bro, just an accomplished, prolific rapper, local.
Oh,
bro, like, just someone who actually takes time in what he actually does. And actually is real, like, man, just multifaceted in terms of your sound, bro, honestly.
Cheers, man. Appreciate that.
And it's been quite cool because you've been up here for the last, like, week up in Auckland off the back of that Discover gig.
Yeah, no, it's been good fun. We played that gig up at Cassette the other day, obviously, which is good fun. And, yeah, just thought I'd chill for a bit. You know, when you start somewhere for a couple of days, you don't really end up getting much done.
Yeah, but sometimes, like, not doing anything is actually something at the same time, eh? Because you get a little bit of refreshed. Because you've been, like, for the last, like, say, has it been like the last 5 years you've been making music?
Yeah, thereabouts. Like, I don't really count it too much, but yeah, I'd say it's been about 5 years now. Like, it's been a minute.
Yeah, hard, man. Because what's your journey? Because you're originally from London, Bristol, eh?
Yeah, man. Well, I'm originally from London, and so I lived in London till I was about 8, and then I moved to Bristol ways, where I lived between about the ages of 14. Yeah. And then I moved to New Zealand, to Auckland, through my mum's side. She's a Kiwi. And then I stayed up in Auckland for maybe like 7, 8 years. And I went over to Sydney for a year. And then after that, I moved back to Wellington, where I've been for the last 3 years, which is where I've been staying recently.
And that's probably like the last 3 years has kind of been the most pivotal time in terms of your creative expression output.
Yeah, I'd say so. Like, it's always been there, but like the last 3 years where I've really like honed my craft and really gotten much better at expressing what I want to say, making the type of music I want to make. I did a course, a DJ course, production course, where I had some great mentors, and lockdown too, I think was another good time for me, where I got to really just sit and focus on my production chops. Yep. So yeah, I think in the last 3 years, that's where I've really gone from just being a rapper to a musician, artist,
exactly. And whereas like prior to actually that lockdown or going to DJ and production school, were you just more just throwing stuff at the canvas, kind of a rough idea of what you wanted to do in a way? Like,
yeah, I didn't really know like what I wanted or what sort of sound I was going for. I was more just sort of like, I know I can rap and I like music, so yeah, just sort of picking beats. But it was always kind of hard, you know. Like a few years ago, it wasn't as saturated as it was now. Like I feel like for these young rappers, it's so easy. Like they've probably got a friend in their class who's like a producer, you know. Like there's so many producers now. Like it wasn't like quite like that back in the day. Like there was heaps of rap, obviously. Like it was saturated, but it wasn't everywhere, you know. Everyone wasn't a beat maker, so it was kind of hard to link up with the right people, I guess.
Got you.
But once I did link up with the right people, you know, that's when I started making real good music.
Yeah, and was that before or after DJ school? DJ school, was that quite recently?
Oh, yeah, that was in the last couple of years. Yeah, I'd say I started, I was been linking up with a couple of people the whole time. Yeah. Like, even the first time I made an EP, it's not like out on Spotify or anything. I just don't like really pump it, but I'm still like pretty happy with that as a body of work I accomplished with a good friend of mine. Then when I met Chronic Snowman, that was a bit of a turning point too. When we made Metallica, that was our first track.
Oh yeah.
So I was just like over in, I was just over in Sydney at the time, and Connor was in Wellington, and I just known him like through the hardcore scene and that.
Yep.
And then he just sent me a beat. He sent me a few beats, and I was like, yeah, it's hard, and like wrote a tune for that. And that was the first song we got that like people really started to notice and like give us plays.
Nice.
So after that, we were like, oh yeah, let's
Essentially,
let's do more. Like,
and and you guys did a tape, like
yeah, we did like a whole project. Like looking back at it, it's pretty crack up. Like,
Chronic Ghost Man, eh?
yeah, Chronic Ghost Man. Yeah, like there's some good stuff on there. We did a few like little projects. Like we've just like pretty much just smushed them onto one project now. Looking back, but yeah, there were a few different like EPs we did. We crafted our sound a little bit. Yeah, they were pretty interesting days.
And when you're like actually making music, did you ever have any sort of like hesitation when you were making it? Was it just making it, putting it out, seeing the response? Is that how you
Yeah.
or were you kind of like always working on like stuff before you even kind of like released it onto sort of streaming services or whatever?
Yeah. Well, I guess like ever since I started like, I'd always liked being like lyrical and like writing poetry or like writing stories or whatever. So that was always a part of me. But it wasn't until I was like 15, 16-ish that I started writing actual raps. And then the first couple tunes were just sort of like, I literally just recorded them on my laptop mic and just like released them on SoundCloud, you know, and that was all good, you know. They got a couple hits, like people jamming them, like it was a vibe. Like I had no idea what I was doing, but it was still like a vibe, kind of. I was like, yeah, this is kind of a vibe. And then, you know, from there I just like real slowly just honed my craft, just like I got a better idea of what I wanted to sound like, got a better idea of my lyricism. Like I look back at some of my lyricism back then and I'm like, cringe, man. So, it's all like
just like super sporadic or not necessarily just
yeah, or just like I feel like the game was just so different back then. Like what was it, like 2012, 2013 or whatever, you know? Like Odd Future was coming out, you know, horrorcore was still a thing. You know, I was just trying to come out with like the most shocking bars.
got you.
You know, in many regards. But that was what the game was all about back then. Like every rapper was just trying to just sound like, just have the most like shocking bars, you know.
Yeah, it's such a pivotal time around that.
Yeah.
What were you listening to around that time? Because you did mention like Odd Future and
yeah,
like
so
artists
much,
like
man.
Mac Miller, like
Yeah, that
Timmy Brown
whole
stuff
era
like-
was like, yeah, that was pumping. Like that was the era of hip hop. Like you had Odd Future, all that stuff. Mac Miller, obviously, yeah. Action Bronson was doing good stuff then. The Dr. Lecter mixtape, like again, yeah, like full horrorcore spec. Like if you go back and listen to it, or shit, I'm trying to think. It was a good Big Crit, man. I used to love Big Crit back then. He was sick.
Yeah.
Even like Kendrick, Absol, and Schoolboy, like they were having their like humble music then.
around that like
Yeah.
so around that like early 2010 2013 like it's kind of a
then, like,
pivotal time for music.
Yo, even when that first ASAP Rocky mixtape dropped,
Yeah, Live
like,
Love,
that was hard. Like
Hard out.
that changed it for me because like he was rapping over these beats. You know, they weren't like hip hop beats. It was just like cloud rap and stuff. And I think that changed it for a lot of people.
Just like using like different sounds, not necessarily where you're from,
Yeah,
but like just using different things that you're influenced by. And that's probably like
Yeah.
where like you're probably part of your sound and where I pick up from music that I listen to from you or even on your live stage
yeah,
is that balance of kind of from the UK and that era as well.
yeah. Like
And just trying to find your own path
for real.
in the scene as well, right?
Like yeah, it's always been hard for me. Like as a rap, you know, identity thing was a lot at first because you know a lot of rapping is so geographical based. You know, a lot of it is very regional. Like people have their regional hip hop scenes because it is like music from the streets primarily. You know, so people are rapping like their regional areas. But like for me, as someone who's like moved around my whole life, I'm not like rapping something. You know, so I guess what I can rap is just sort of being a product of everything I've been around, everything I've seen, and just try and reflect everything around me.
Exactly. Like all of your experience isn't just
Yeah.
tied to one place. It's about
Exactly.
your whole journey, right?
Because I think that's such a common thing, like especially in the modern world. Like so many people just move around their whole life, and yeah, I don't know. I think that's where I'm at. Like I'm one of those people.
Hard out. Because it's like, it's quite cool, like, even when thinking back to, like, and hear it, like, in your tone as well. It is, like, UK.
Yeah.
but like it's authentically Kiwi as well.
Yeah.
You know, because you're being yourself.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I've like grown up here. Like I grew up there. That was where I like was there for 14 years or whatever. Like I've still lived there longer than I lived here.
Yeah. How old are you now? 24?
24, yeah.
Nice.
But like, yeah, all my like formative years, like, really have been here, like, at the age like 16 through to 24. You know, those
Actually,
are
like growing up and
yeah,
figuring out your kind of identity as a man, so to speak.
yeah.
Like,
You grow up so much more in those years than you do in like the first 14. Like physically, you grow up more in the first 14 years, but mentally, you know, it's in the time I've been here. That's when I've grown up mentally. You know?
Yeah. And do you find like you're growing up the most when you were in Wellington for the last like
Yeah,
3
I'd
or 4
say so.
years?
Yeah, I'd say so. Like, yeah, even the last like the last 2 years, you know, have been when I've grown up the most. More so
In terms of like the people that you like interact with and
yeah, just in myself, just of like being sure of myself, and in terms of being less negative, less willing to drag things down, you know, because I've never been like fully negative, but I'd always have that edge to me. I think in the last couple of years, you know, I've really been able to take a look at the bigger picture a bit more, and just sort of draw back and like stop being quite
kind of more reflective of kind of what you've
Yeah.
achieved or who you are, and less
yeah.
cancelling out all that other noise that might
Yeah.
put you off your path or distract you.
Yeah, exactly. Like, you know, I used to be like, have a little bit of a tall poppy syndrome, you know, but now you just get to a point where you're like, this is not the way. Like, you just see so much hatred and negativity around you in the world, and you're like, I'm probably going to end up like still transmitting some by accident, but you just got to like try not to be that person. I think it's really important.
Yeah, it's probably kind of a reference that I have from just particularly your output or even the people that you work with. It is collaboration. I maybe touch on the whole collaboration because I believe that that's a real strong part of kind of your musical journey, right? Like you're not
for sure.
you're not just Young Ghost yourself. You've got
Yeah,
a strong team of collaborators that you do work with and learn from.
gang.
Like you're only as strong as like the information that you do consume, but and just learning from other people and being willing to learn from other people as well, right?
Yeah. Well, it's been pretty pivotal working with other creators in my journey. You know, when I started out, I wasn't making any of my own beats or anything. Like, I had a pretty rubbish laptop, and I tried to get FL working a couple of times, but I never did it. So I'd like have goes when I was around my mate's house, but you know, I never really like fully developed the skill until a much later date. So it was always about a collaborative thing with me being the one who like. But since I wasn't the one behind the wheel, I always wanted to make sure that, you know, I was getting my ideas somewhere in the beat in some way. Be like, oh, we got to do this. Like, make sure my creativity was coming through.
So it wasn't like you're giving the keys to someone else. It was
Yeah,
strongly
like
you that creative spirit.
always like to be there and like right there in the passenger seat. And I think collaborating is I don't know how people manage to just like do music entirely on themselves. Like, I can see how they do it, but fuck, it's so much easier just like with people. You know, you've got them to work with, and you can vibe off back and forth and be like, oh, this is a good idea. Oh, that's not such a good idea. You know, that was why things really changed when I started working with Snowman, because like I had good people who I had good relations before, who were good friends, but for example, the bro CJ, who I made my first EP with, fucking amazing musician. Like, he's been in some amazing bands, one of the most talented musicians you'll ever meet. And we're still like want to make music together and stuff. We've worked on a little bit in the past, but our paths musically weren't entirely united. I think we both knew that. So we were like, fuck, great music that we made, but it wasn't.
You're not trying to force something.
Yeah, kind of, just based on what you have around you. And amazing results come out. But then it's not until you work with someone who's really, say he was more someone who was on the spectrum of working in bands and stuff. It wasn't until I worked with Chronic Snowman, who was someone who was really focused on the hip-hop sound, really pushing a polished modern hip-hop sound, that I was able to really hone in and be like, sweet, this is exactly what I'm up to.
And like from a producer angle, like he would guide you through, like you wouldn't like he might suggest kind of how could we make this the best tune or best project ever. So
Yeah,
you kind
exactly.
of learn from each other and
it's like,
take
yeah,
that
when
on.
both your names are on it, there's so much more at stake. You know, you're holding each other accountable. When you just got one name on the project, it's like it's
whatever.
just you, and it's like you don't know, like, unless you've got like you're getting lots of feedback, I guess, and you're like playing it to lots of people. But even then, it's not the same when you've created something compared to something that you're just putting out. I think it's just so valuable working with other people.
Exactly. And it's just that full-on team and unity, and you can focus on delivering the best cadence and lyrics possible.
And yeah,
And then-
yeah.
But you still have that knowledge and understanding of, like, making your own beats and things like that. Was that something that you always kind of had, or was it kind of off the back of that DJ production?
Yeah, well, I'd always
Skill
kind of had it like in the background. Like I vaguely had an idea what I was doing, but it wasn't until I did that course and got to sort of have a whole year to just knuckle down and work on my music things, work on my production, that I actually like figured out really what I was doing.
Yeah. Were you like kind of like dipping and dabbing in different things, whether it was DJing and that, and
Yeah.
just realizing?
Oh
that
yeah, I
it's-
hadn't really DJed too much before that. Like I dipped more into production. Like I'd like used FL a little bit. Like I'd done a bit of like vocal mixing. I had to like vocal mix some of my tracks. Like I'd sat with like the bros and like given the ideas on production. I'd played around a little bit on Logic and FL, but like I wasn't. If you sat me down in front of the software on my own, I was still like,
you say, oh, what am I to do?
yeah, like what button do I press to get started? Sort of buzz.
100%.
But then it wasn't until I just had that time to work with, I guess teachers, having people to teach you is easy, makes it easy. But then also just having the time myself to really sit there and reflect on this. What does this mean? What is this all about? What is reverb? What is compression?
And they're going into the full-on nuances and details of
Yeah.
what it is to just make a track rather than just
Yeah,
having a microphone recording it over a beat.
yeah.
Your appreciation for a lot of the music that you have listened to growing up, or throughout your pivotal years. Did that change the way that you kind of looked at music?
Definitely. I mean, because making music, like once I had a solid, I was taught music theory as a kid, but it wasn't until I had like a good understanding of sonic theory until that was when I really started being able to produce well, like understanding which frequencies did what, like just all the little ins and outs. Like that was the stuff that was really important. What was the question again?
Just more about like understand. Sorry, bro. Like kind of like touched on it, but it was more about with that music theory and understanding the ins and outs of what it takes to actually make kind of a successful project or a beautifully sounding sonically project. Does it change your appreciation for other music that you're listening to
100%.
with a different ear, right?
Yeah, absolutely, man. Like, yeah, since my ears changed since I know what to listen for. Like, I go back and listen to some of the music that I listened to as a kid, and I'm like, oh, this is produced terribly. But in all honesty, I'm glad it's this way, you know, because otherwise I wouldn't have been able to appreciate some of that music with such terrible production. Yeah. But, you know, I think it's almost come full circle. Like, it's just the classic, you know, it's that curve, like, it's like up and then it's...
Like kind of bell curve.
Yeah. You know, at first you're like, oh my God, I understand music production. I only want to hear the things that sound really amazing. And then after a while you're like, oh, you know what, actually things that don't sound so amazing actually are all good. And then you sort of end up back where you were in the first place, just with a greater understanding of why you're there.
Got you. Because how would you explain your sound? Because it is quite distinctive. Like, and take away the kind of the accent and your heritage aside. I know that has like a differentiating factor, but like, what is like? How would you explain your sound? Or is it just good sounding shit? Like,
pretty much, man. Like, I don't like at the end of the
put
day,
yourself in the box or anything.
Yeah, because like I'm a rapper, and I think even that's a box I don't like to put myself in. But like musically speaking, I'm a rapper. I rap, and I think hip hop as a genre is just such a broad term. Like, there's
100%.
so many things that can be under that, and I think if you look back at all the great rappers, or even all the great artists in history, the majority of them never stuck to a single genre. You know, like, I can't really think of one, you know.
Exactly. It's like branching out.
Yeah.
Not for the sake of being different, but just because
Yeah.
that's experimenting.
Exactly.
Everything else.
And we exist in, like, a place in the musical sphere where everything has been done to such an extent. You know, like there's not that many new genres that are being created. So it's just all about, for me, taking just the best of what's there. Because, you know, most people are raised on the same sort of music, generally speaking, you know, the same like cross section of genres, bit of rock, you know, bit of hip hop, bit of soul, bit of country, bit of like metal, bit of whatever, like bit of this, bit of that, bit of drum and bass, bit of jungle, you know. Most people have an appreciation for a reasonably good spectrum of it. Yep. And I'm one of those people. So I'm just like, you know, it's a party. It's all about music. Give the people all the music they want.
Exactly. And it's like that understanding of like all different music like connects with so many different people for different reasons.
Fully.
But like your repertoire of understanding like music and collecting music. I mean, look, I'm sure you collect a lot of music and study at it, right? So
yeah, I mean, for me, it all comes from the exact same place. Like, you look at the funky Amen break. Okay, that came from a funk track, and then that's been the most sampled break to create drum and bass, or like jungle, all that. But it's also been one of the most sampled breaks in hip hop. You know, so they're immediately those two genres are just like they're pretty much the same thing. They're like two ends of the same coin. And then you've got something like hip hop, you know, came out of the same ghettos as punk was coming out of in like New York in the 70s, you know? Like, they're all the same thing. They're all the same attitudes expressed in different ways.
Exactly, man. No, that's bloody awesome. So when did you, say you started in 2016, that was your first EP, and then you linked up with Chronic Snowman.
Yeah.
When was it? And around that time, were you like, do you quickly perform on stage? Like, did you have a strong desire to perform on stage?
Yeah, well, my first...
That's a big part of what you do.
I guess that was kind of a big part of it. So one of the first, my first performance on stage was my friends who were all sort of in bands back just in school days were into throwing gigs. There were like, a couple of them were like a metal band, there were a couple of them like a post-rock band, just different bands. And one of my mates had a covers band, Monty and the Hawks, and they wanted to do like a hip hop section. And like I'd been like writing bars, you know, they knew I could rap, so they were like, "Oh, do you want to like
chuck you on
cover a couple of songs?" We did like a cover of a Nas song, a cover of a Homebrew song, then we did a cover of a Rage Against the Machine song.
Sweet. And
that was just up at the Mount Eden Scout Hall, legendary venue for a variety of scenes. Yeah, that went the fuck off basically. Like, it was fucking lit, man. Like, packed as, like, popping, like, cunts were like, holy shit, that was fucking mean. I was like, yeah. Fuck yeah, that was mean. So I started making more music so that I could have something to play for myself for the next show I did, which was another one at that same venue.
So was that even before you kind of started releasing kind of bodies of work? Was it your first taste of actually like you on a mic performing?
Pretty much,
of an actual recorded track or not?
Yeah, I might have had like a couple of like amateur songs on SoundCloud, but yeah, it was pretty like, yeah, I was doing that before I did any like really like proper recording. Yeah,
it's an interesting path, right? Like it's kind of
it's quite different
upon like
hip hop especially.
Yeah, and like upon seeing you perform live, it all makes sense of your strength as a live performer from starting off that.
Yeah, for sure.
Rather than just kind of releasing tracks.
Yeah.
And probably your ear as well, from what sounds good on the stage.
Yeah.
And then how does that influence, maybe that's a good question actually, like from having an appreciation of a live show and the perception, does that subconsciously, does that make you kind of change your approach?
I think 100%, like, because at the end of the day, when you're making music, what you got to think about is how is this music being on the speakers going to affect the vibe of the room that it's being played in? You know, and at first when I was making music, that was something I didn't understand. Not something I necessarily wanted to understand. When I was first making music, it was like, there's the beat, there's the canvas, let's spray out, like cover it in lyrical paint. You know, it's just I'm being me. Yep. And it's still being me. I still just want to be me, but I want to be me in a way that the room can agree with.
Got you.
Yeah.
From not only like what you're saying from a lyrical standpoint, but just from a sonic standpoint.
Yeah. Like I want to agree with it too.
Yeah.
And like, I have songs like that. I've made main songs, but then I listen to some songs. I'm like, I still like this. Like, this is sick. I'm glad I've made this. but you know, some of them are a bit more like full on.
Yeah.
Not necessarily heavy full on, but just like emotionally full on, or I don't know, just not. I don't feel like it'll be as agreeable. But that's probably me being overcritical. Like I've made some pretty good music
from like dense from not dense from just dense from like a content perspective. Like a lot in there to digest.
Like packed a lot of bars into some songs, you know. Especially looking back, like I think the average length of a song's just gone down so much that I go back and listen to some of my songs and I'm like, this is a bit long. Like
Got you.
Rap songs over 4 minutes now, like you're pushing it, man.
Like three verses.
Yeah,
like
innit? Like it's pushing
16s.
it. It's pushing it.
Yeah. And there's probably an interesting time where you came up where probably the song structure and soundscape was probably in that bit more of that old school sort of.
Yeah, like.
And now it's changed so much, even in like a short time span of 5-6 years. Like,
Well, yeah, that's why it was always so hard to figure out what sound I like, because there was so many like sounds popping up, and I was like, oh my god, I love it all. Like I came from listening to like old school hip hop and all that jazz, and then all this new shit was coming out with all these crazy 808 beats and all this shit, and I'm just like, yo, dude, this shit knocks. So like for that first EP I was making based on the shit yarn, we were making this shit that was like beautiful, soulful music. I look back at it now and I'm like, how could I not have wanted to make this more beautiful and soulful? But at the time, you know, that was when everything with 808s was popping. That was when like all I wanted to hear was boom, boom, and you know,
kind of went on that path.
I was just like, man, this is it.
Yeah.
You know, and I guess that's what sort of took me down the path of like electronic music, you know, it's like sound system music in it. At first I was like, yes, I just want that big bass. But then I'm like, oh, okay, I got the big bass. Wait, what else is going on? Oh, okay. Yeah. Those hi-hats are a bit janky. And you know, that's what brought me down that path.
That's awesome. Because what would you, if you, and you talked about lockdown and kind of having a chance to kind of sit,
yeah. Sorry, I should
reflect.
Get some water.
All good, bro. Easy. Yeah. But like, if you see it about in lockdown.
Yeah.
And I feel like kind of thinking back to lockdown, it's such a pivotal time anyway, and I don't like always asking lockdown, but it always seems if you're in a creative space, it did birth a lot of creative output and energy, but that time to be reflective and stop for a little bit and reflect to what you had done prior, because before lockdown, have you released stuff in between that last lockdown and now, like from a body of work standpoint, or are we gearing up for the release?
Yeah, still gearing up for the release from that, eh?
Yeah. So like, and did you like kind of stop and you're like, oh wow, in that short period of time, where it's like 3-4 years, I've actually done a lot. Yeah, I've put out quite a lot of content, and this is what I like from it, and this is what I don't like, and this is what I want to develop and grow on. Like,
yeah, fully, man. Well, lockdown was pretty hectic. It was, my mum passed away in lockdown, and it was also the time when I released a single, which was my first single that really got playlisted by Spotify and started popping and making big numbers. Yeah. So it was really a time when I just didn't know how the fuck to feel. I was just like...
just everything.
I was just like... It was literally the same day that it happened. Like, I got the news that mum had passed, and that the fucking... And the same day I got the news that my single had been playlisted. So I'm just like, this is life, isn't it? Like, this is fucking life, you know? So for me, lockdown was like, I made the best of it in so many ways, because I just used it as an opportunity to hone in on my production and use it in the best way possible, because, I didn't have any other fucking choice. It was either that or fucking, nothing. Nothing. I didn't have a choice. What am I going to do? Just like...
Kind of in the sink or swim, sort of like back against the wall.
Yeah, man. Like, because, my mum was over in Australia, so I couldn't, like, go there. I didn't have to, like, hang out with the family, go to the funeral, do all that shit, I was just still constrained to my house the whole time. Yeah. So I just had to fucking... It was sink or swim, I was like, fuck, bro, I just got to use this time and make it constructive. Yeah,
and it's probably like a huge turning point for you from a creative output standpoint as well.
Yeah, fully.
Just in terms of a lot of the, whether it's Spotify attractions or just the body of work and planning out, okay, I'm going to really take this. This isn't just a hobby.
Yeah.
If this is what I want to do.
Yeah, exactly. I was like, fuck this. I was like, that changed, everything changed in me after that happened. I was like, why the fuck should I, like, take no for an answer almost, you know, like I'm like I can do this, like I'm making fucking sick music, like people say the world wants to hear it, man. I'm gonna fucking
Awesome.
make the world hear it, you know.
And that really like kind of level up your DIY pioneer sort of specs as well.
It made me really want to like fucking get good at what I was doing, you know. That I think I made my first like songs in lockdown. Like there was like some like production competition. I was like, fuck it, I'm gonna enter this just to force myself to like make my own song in lockdown. And fuck, it was a banger, Bedroom Chillin'. I'll drop that at some point.
Awesome.
And that was musically that was a massive turning point for me because it was fucking tune, man. It was fucking banger. I was like, holy shit, I just made that whole thing myself. Like, I was like, oh shit, I can actually do this. So lockdown was like, it was huge. Like, it was one of the biggest periods of my life, you know, like dealing with all that shit.
Yeah.
And then just channeling it into something. And I guess that's kind of just what I've been doing since, you know. That's like, they asked me on the radio earlier, they were like, fuck, damn, where'd that lyricism come from? And it's
comes
like,
from you.
yeah, man. It's like, fuck, that time was just like, that was when I wrote most of the bars for this album. And I look back at some lyrics, I'm like, damn, there's some pretty powerful stuff. Like, I don't write that shit every day, you know? It was just like a certain time where it just fucking,
and it came directly from you and how you're feeling. It wasn't forced, it was just pure emotion and pure.
Because I didn't have any of those external factors, you know, to influence me. It was just straight like, what's fucking going on?
Like, maybe talk us a little bit about that album, because it really, and I've had, you know, privilege while I was sitting playing Rocket League on the couch just to hear it, and sonically, but Bad Taste, right?
Yeah, Bad Taste.
I'm looking forward to hearing that when it drops, and other people to hear it out. And you've been kind of playing it in live shows as well, right? Just to kind of, it's kind of I find that's quite a unique way of doing it. I think a lot of people get a bit like nervous of performing their stuff before it's full on release, but it's kind of your path's a bit different in terms of how you kind of release music. Like,
I just know it's the dank shit, you know.
Yeah.
Like for me, like I had like a whole album, you know, that I could have dropped. I have Wet Season, you know. Wet Season was nearly going to drop. I still got the artwork. Wet Season's still going to drop one day, you know. Man,
when you go,
it's in the pocket, you know. Wet Season's still there, but I was just like, after lockdown and all that shit happened, I was like, it made me really think about the path that I sort of did want to take with my music, especially lyrically. Like looking at some of my songs, I was like, oh, like, is this really like sort of the path, the message I want to be promoting in my lyricism? And so it just gave me the opportunity to really think about it. And I was like, nah, you know, I just want to like make some shit that like means some shit and make some people fucking think, you know? Yeah. So that's kind of what Bad Taste was all about on the lyrical front. I just wanted to. It was just bars. It was a flex. Like the whole project's just a flex. Alphabet's just a flex, bro. He like
Alphabethead. Shout out to him.
Alphabethead is the fucking legend, man. He taught me how to DJ. He taught me half my production chops at this course, and then after that whole thing happened, he just started sending me beats because he'd broken his hand, so he was just fucking. He wasn't scratching, so he had to make beats. Crazy man. And I was just like, fuck yeah, wrote like 4 or 5 songs, whatever, sent it back to him. He's like, holy shit, dude, you just wrote
the
like
work ethic,
5 songs to my beats.
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, dude, this is how I roll. Like, let's go. And this was like in lockdown, so he just kept sending beats. So like, by the time we got out of lockdown, we were like, we had like 7 songs or some shit. We're like,
a lot to refine and look at. And
we're like, oh, this could be an EP. And then we're like, no. Let's not rush things. And then so we made a bunch more songs. And we're like, we got a fucking project here, right?
Awesome, man.
We just steady worked on it. And yeah, man, the whole thing's just a flex, bro. Like, because he's just the GOAT. Like, he's just such a GOAT on just so many levels, eh? And it's just like, it just sounds amazing. Like, every bit of it. Like, I just have to give him so much credit. Like, it's just like, my previous work with Chronic Snowman sounds amazing, especially on a big system. Like, fuck, it sounds like amazing, but like, it's fucking in your face, you know. It's heavy. This shit, you know, you could chuck it on fucking. It's just like easy going. It's smooth. It's pristine, man.
It's probably like where you were saying earlier, where like you're trying to fit so much in to like a particular track or a project that this is a little bit more stripped back, or you realizing all your strengths.
Yeah,
And realizing that you got to double down on those strengths.
exactly.
And really get a producer or a partner in
Yeah.
crime, which is Alphabethead, to really like elevate your sound to a totally different level.
Yeah, man. And like, it's still like, it's interesting because if I want to make like heavy shit, I'll still rather go back to Chronic because Alphabet's good at making those heavy beats, but you know, it's still kind of nice. We got a couple heavy tracks in the album, but they still sound kind of nice, you know.
Yeah.
But like, sometimes I do still want to make some just evil shit, and you know, that's when I hit up Snowman. That's when I hit up fucking Dozy, whatever.
Yeah, honestly, yeah, I'm looking forward because when you got like, have you kind of like dropped a date on Peeps, or you just kind of like
we
getting
ain't
things
dropped
in
the date
order?
yet. No, we ain't dropped the date yet. We're still getting things in order. We're waiting on some artwork. We wanna do it properly. Want some nice, sexy artwork. So we're waiting on an artist to finish that off for us, and then after that we got our first single coming out, Apothecary.
Oh yeah,
which is that's going to come out on the 16th of July. We got a release show at Moon Bar with that too, which should be cool.
awesome.
So we debuted the project live the other day at Valhalla. It was the first Bad Taste show with who did we play with?
You got Liam Casper.
Oh yeah, we had Swigzo, old mate Swigsy.
Yep.
We had Alice Agnes, who's a really talented DJ who plays. She was in our class. Was taught by Alphabethead the same year as me.
Sweet.
So they played after us. We play with Narbo. They're a real good sort of rapper, vocalist, multi-instrumentalist producer from Wellington. Just gets on a real hard like decolonization buzz. Just like raps about some real cool topics. So we were like, fuck yeah, we were stoked to get that on board. And with this other band, Tin Palace, just like vibey sort of like Wellington rock band. Pretty good. We did that first Bad Taste show the other day, and man, it went the fuck off, eh? Like, cunts lost their shit, eh?
And there was and you were just like, okay, yeah, we're sitting on it.
I was like, yeah, this is a
on,
thing. I'm
yeah.
like, this is a thing. Because, yeah, Alphabet, you know, he's old school, man. He's like, he's not quite as confident about his output as me. Like, he knows he's good, but he's like, oh, you know,
humble.
He's humble. He's very humble. He's extremely humble. He's like, are people really gonna fuck with it that hard?
Yeah.
I'm like, dude, chill. Like, they're gonna fuck with it harder, bro.
Yeah.
Like, and like, really, I think the show just showed that, you know, like, it was fucking, like, I'm used to doing shows and I love it, eh? But it was so much more fun to just have me not being the focus of attention. Well, I was the focus of attention, but you know, we're both the focus of attention. Like, you don't know where to look.
Shared load.
You're like, holy shit, this guy's sending it. Holy shit, that guy's sending it. And you're just like,
yeah,
fuck yeah. And yeah, bro, we fucking pumped it. And so that was our first show. And so they can only get better from there, is what I'm saying, you know.
No, that's awesome, man. Because that even like, because the one thing that I find just awesome, just like talking on Sort of Kiwi Show, just like people's individual skills or going out and seeking individual like skill sets or learning things that they may not know or being surrounded by people, you know, making decisions whether going to DJ school, and that's how you met Alphabethead through that, right? Fully. And then boom, it's led to this, and
it's crazy, man.
And like even putting on shows, like you have a whole different, you know, you're the Young Ghost boss of Ghost Media, right? And even just looking at all that stuff. When you created that, was that just putting on? No one's really like putting me on a show. I'm gonna make my own shows for the whole scene, like
exactly, bro. And like,
awesome.
I'd encourage any rapper, or like not just a rapper, any artist who believes they have the goods, like that is the way to do it. Like, you don't want to wait for someone to book your own show. You want to book your own show, A, because you get paid the most money out of it, which is what you deserve because you're the fucking artist. And B, because fuck promoters. Like, at the end of the day, no offense, all my promoter friends, you good cunts. They're fucking parasites. Like, they're just leeches on the industry, really, aren't they? Like, good cunts for throwing the gigs together, but like, we don't strictly need promoters. Promoters need artists, but whereas promoters are like, they're just middlemen. Like, good on promoters, but you know, like, and so it was just sort of a way to sort of just reclaim that and just like get my status up myself.
Yep.
And yeah, fuck.
Because what was the first Ghost Media actual show? Was that, how long ago was that? Like,
the first official Ghost Media show that we actually made the company Ghost Media for was Mr. Traumatic. Okay. That was at San Fran. that wasn't the first show we'd thrown. Like we'd thrown a bunch
Other
of shows
ones, yeah.
before then, but like
The official label.
the official label Ghost Media, we made a logo and shit for it, was for that Mr. Traumatic show. Do you know Mr. Traumatic?
Heard of.
He's like a Welsh MC.
Oosh.
He's like, bro, he's pretty crack up. He's a legend, man. Like fucking legend. Like one of the most crazy MCs, like for drum and bass, like you'll see live. Like massive inspiration, like mad clarity in his vocals, But he does have some pretty problematic lyrics.
Problematic.
Looking back at them,
Yeah.
problematic's the word. But good cunt though. He was a fucking legend. That was the show we set up Ghost Media for. Was that because we needed like a proper company to run that through? Was basically I'd started like doing raves with bro Filthy Tomo and Church of Bass, and I was like emceeing for their raves a bit, and they were just like we were having yarns, and they're just like, look, if you got like any artists who you want to put on,
sweet.
If you like think of anyone, you know, any good opportunities to like throw a show and like get in there, like let us know. And I was just like, oh, fucking
Sweet.
Traumatic. I saw Traumatic. This was like his posting about a New Zealand tour or whatever. Messaged him. I was like, you got a New Zealand show? He was like, nah. I was like, oh, this is our opportunity. And then we went in for that, and then they like spotted me up some money with a couple of the other bros spotted money, and then we just fucking added up and did this Traumatic show at San Fran. So it was a pretty crazy birth of Ghost Media, to be honest, looking back at it, like the first show to be for an international artist of that caliber. And it was interesting because it was like drum bass was popping, but it was just before like drum bass was everything, you know?
Got you.
So it was like, we pretty much like broke even. We made a little bit of money, but it was
a massive
like,
learning, a massive insight of like, yo,
was
this is
insane.
another part of it beyond just making my own
opened
music.
my eyes so much, man. And just even just like getting to like work alongside an international artist like that, like it was just like crazy.
Just sponge moments, like you just you don't get those opportunities unless you like actually go out and ask and actually connect and make those opportunities happen for yourself.
Yeah, man, it was like the biggest like moment like up until then. I was like, holy shit, this is actually happening. Like, I fucking opening for Mr. Traumatic. I'm putting on a Mr. Traumatic show. Like, it's pretty cool. Like, even now, looking back at it, I'm like, fuck. Like, if I told that to, like, me when I was, like, fucking 14, 15, whatever, like, first listening to Traumatic, you'd be like, fuck off.
I bet there's probably a lot of those moments for you. Like, like, what other moments would there, if you had time? Because by the sounds of it, like, leading up to everything up to Bad Taste, probably before that lockdown, like, you were just releasing, creating.
I don't even know where to begin, bro.
Time.
We've done so much crazy shit, bro. Like, we fucking sent it, bro. Like, in all honesty, you know. Like, me and Snowman, we opened for fucking Shakewell and Ramirez at San Fran, you know. That was crazy. Like, that is not something I pictured myself ever doing, you know, opening for, like, fucking Shakewell and Ramirez, you know. Like, they're, like, the hardest rappers in the underground at that time, pretty much. Like that was, like, goals, you know, or even since then, like just working with Alphabethead, like the All Sing Ham was the first Wellington band I ever actually saw, and they were fucking insane. I was just like, holy shit, these cunts are fucked. And then that's Alphabethead's band, and then to now just be working with Alphabethead and like producing this music, it's like, fuck, this is crazy.
Yeah, and the power of just like connecting with people and that collaboration, right?
Yeah, it's nuts,
and then
man.
just being open for any sort of opportunity and just
fully, man,
kind of going committing full on to it and being open to any sort of outcome that comes from it, right?
Yeah, man, like you got to be fully open-ended. Like this fucking New Year's, I was at Twisted Frequency. I meant to just play out a couple, like a DJ set and some shit. But the homies Raw Collective, their band, they were playing. But then the vocalist, the homie, was real sick. And he couldn't make it at the last minute, so I had to just sort of like slot in and just like play that whole set for them, And it was honestly one of the most fun sets I've ever played in my life, Like that improvisational energy, The power of just fucking using the moment to your advantage, It's so good.
Like channeling what sort of kind of, not necessarily fear or anxiety, but just that unknown energy and just kind of channeling it into something that's quite powerful.
That's where the best things came from. Like I remember a friend told me that years ago, he was like, look, your tracks are all good, but that's not why people love about you. People love that spontaneity, that freestyle energy you provide.
Charismatic charm.
And I was like, fuck you, my tracks are banging. However, I understand what you're saying. I'm taking that on board and try and turn the tracks so they capture more of that like charisma and like, whimsical energy.
Yeah, and that's one thing that credit to you, and probably listening to a lot more of the tunes off Bad Taste is obviously spending time with you, like you sleeping on the couch. I definitely understand that you are the person who is writing and spitting everything. It isn't two different worlds.
Nah.
But just how authentic you are, and just how you're at a state now, by the sounds of it, and listening to a few of your other stuff. And I first listened to you off like Scapegoat Mercy is the homie. So
Yeah, classic.
Kind of like connected like the dots through that. And and off that Amazon track with J Knight and Unwell as well.
Yeah.
Like just like hearing you on that tunes. But just it's just awesome just to see someone through the grinding steps. It isn't just I want to do this and I want to make this awesome album. Give it to me. You've actually done all the foundational stuff and reflected and learned and optimized, your process along the way, and not being like kind of scared to take on criticism
Fully.
To that point. And you're kind of with your live shows, or you can hear it in the new music, that charm or that charismatic nature is in full effect,
Yeah,
it's on.
Yeah, well, for so long, like I was kind of fearful to, really go ahead and like make my claim and like make the music that I wanted to make, just because, I didn't necessarily know the music that I wanted to make. I didn't know the message that I wanted to put across, and that's why like my first album, Based on a Shit Yarn, that was almost a disclaimer, because I didn't know what I wanted to rap about. I hadn't done anything in my life. I didn't know what life was, so I was just like, I fucking love all this like G-ass rap. Like, I'm just gonna rap about some G shit, like with some like clever wordplay. Like, I'm not G, but fuck, this is hip hop. Like, it's like I was in the heavy metal, it's all about like theatrical shit. So I'm like, fuck yeah, like I'll be this guy for a bit. And then over time, my perspective on that sort of morphed. Like, my perspective on the world changed. I became less cynical, but less satirical. I think shit got realer in general, like the world, like a few years ago, like fucking, I considered everything to be a joke. Now I'm like, fuck, shit's kind of fucked, eh? Like, it's not really all a joke.
And as you grow and as you learn and as you take on different experiences, or you just become a little bit more grounded, but a little bit more focused at the same time. And a little bit more real in terms of understanding who you are. Connected.
I mean, you just got to try and like be real to yourself, like, and just like at the end of the day, put music out that you can fuck with, that you can listen to and enjoy on a sonic and a lyrical level. I think that's what I've tried to do, and I think that's why I have like branched out and done so many genres. Why I'm doing all these drum and bass tracks, My reason why I'm doing these drum and bass tracks at the moment is so I got shit to put in my own mixes. Like, I've been trying to make drum and bass beats. It's fucking difficult, man. Like, it's technical stuff, a lot of steps, but rapping over a drum and bass beat,
sweet
piece of piss. Not for everyone, obviously, but for me, like, it's pretty easy. So now I've just got all these tracks in my own that I can mix into my drum and bass DJ sets. Awesome. It's great.
That's quite cool. Let's say how you were saying is like doing the production tip, or even the DJ tip is like, did you find that you're wanting to, when you have a Young Ghost DJ set, you want to be performing your own stuff, not necessarily
not at all.
A bit of that,
not at all. Nah, it's the other words of the day. Like, when I'm having a DJ set, I want people to just like chill and appreciate me for being a DJ. Sometimes people, they want me to rap, and they're like, oh, when are you spinning some bars? I'm like, bro,
it's different lane.
I'm like, if you're watching just a regular DJ, you wouldn't be asking him when he was spinning bars, You'd just be listening to the music. Maybe I wasn't playing a hard enough set, but I thought it was a pretty hard set. But yeah, I think there could two very different mind states to be in, the mind state of DJing and the mind state of rapping. Like, when you're rapping,
or being an artist.
Yeah, I mean, being a DJ, being an artist, but like, or just being like a full on performer, like a vocalist, like, it's you're trying to command the room. You're trying to bring all the energy to the room and just like get everyone like focused in, get them all honed in, get them all riled up. You're like trying to get a mob almost going, like you're trying to make a riot. Whereas when you're a DJ, you're trying to just like sit back and just get everyone vibing. You want everyone to be like in their own worlds. You don't want everyone to necessarily just be looking at you and be like, yes, DJ.
Play that. No, they just want to be completely lost in the songs that you're playing.
You just want this music to just be transmitting.
Yeah. Because what came first when you went to that DJ school? Was it the DJ element, or was it production, or was it just the opportunity of building with like-minded sort of people at that stage?
Like, what made me choose it?
Yeah, what made you even go down to it? Because I was talking to, when we had Liam K. Swigs up and we had him on the pod, like he was talking about how that opened his eyes up and that was quite a good opportunity for him. Like, what did that mean for you? Like, was it just, how do you even decide to get into that? Was it just the thing to do?
Yeah,
like,
I was just like, well, Jacinda Ardern gave us a year of free study, so I was like, look, I can either use that for some like 4-year like degree or whatever in like I don't know. I don't even know what I'd do in some shit that I don't care about and hate my life the next 4 years.
Yeah.
Or I can use that 1 year, do a main 1 year music course and get as much as I possibly can out
as
of
much
it.
game, eh?
And I do not regret that decision in the slightest.
Because it's just like really just develop your skill set and your foundations, right? Like,
Yeah, it just gave me the time to really just like think about it and just like think about what it means to do it full time, like, and just to really like get a hang of the grind and see what other artists reckon and see it and like see if it was something I felt like I could do. And having seen it from like all angles, I'm like, fuck yeah, I can do that. Like, I can do all of that. Let's do it.
That's awesome, eh? Because you like, would you say like you would recommend if anyone was out there who was kind of like, it was just like to the camera and to anyone else who's watching or listening, like, what would you like recommend that? Like that course to everyone else? Like,
100%.
Beyond just the skill that you learn, but just the network or the connections that you make from it as well. Like,
I mean, look, at the end of the day, it's like any course. You get in what you put out.
Yep.
If you're looking for a quick fix and you want to be inspired when you're uninspired, or you want to go from knowing nothing to knowing everything, it's not the course for you. Like that, you need to. You
have to actually put in.
You need to put in more hours in your home. But if you're there and you're willing to you're there and you're like, sweet, I'm ready to dedicate my year to fucking music. I'm ready to just go all in. I'm not gonna do anything else that year. And you're like actually ready to make that commitment. It is fucking amazing because the facilities are brilliant. It's got everything you need. The tutors are amazing. Like, what could you ask for?
It's based in Wally, yeah.
Yeah, that's the one at Te Awaha. I think there's other courses around. I don't know if does Mains still do a similar course? Yeah, Mains. I think Mains does a pretty similar course. So if you're up in Auckland, I've heard real good things about that, and the tutors there. It's pretty like electronic music production focused, I've heard. So if you're interested, that's a really good course I heard as well.
Oh, that's awesome, man. Oh, so like, again, I'm just bro, just like, thanks for just coming through, and this has been honestly
fun, bro.
You like spending your time, and I know we've kind of talked about all different bits and bobs, and it's always weird like when you kind of like been like at the funny for a while, and it's like, oh, let's do this pod.
Right, now let's do the pod. It's like,
let's do it.
Sweet.
Okay, sweet, cool.
Leaving a few hours. All right, let's do a pod. Yeah,
but it's it's just I'm just looking forward to the reception and catching you on playing live again, like whether that's down in Wellington or next time that you come up here, probably most likely down in Wellington, going down on a road trip down there soon.
Yeah, man.
Which should be awesome.
I mean, that's the buzz, I'm trying to create that scarcity, if I'm not playing a show in Auckland, I want people to come all the way to Wellington just so they can see me,
Yeah, or like get the numbers up so then that incentivizes you to actually put on the show.
Yeah, exactly. No, I'm pretty sure. We're keen to do a tour of a Bad Taste Day. It's just getting it all to line up, David's a teacher, obviously, too, and all this shit. But, fuck, I'm pretty confident we'll be back here soon enough.
Well, that's awesome, man. And, it's just super cool, and I just, like, for anyone who's out there, it's just all about the grind, eh? Like, and just like being like present within the present and having that, just holding stock of kind of everything you've achieved, even putting out a song.
Yeah, man.
Is an achievement, and like putting out project and just keep building.
Even if you've not done any of that, bro, just getting out of bed, that's an achievement, Eating lunch, eating for the day, an achievement, Realizing that you've not eaten properly that day, that's an achievement,
Yeah.
It's all about
being aware of who you are and how you're feeling, and
it's just about little steps. Just be like, if I'm feeling bad, be like, oh, I am feeling bad. Sweet, maybe. What do I do when I'm feeling bad? Oh, isolate myself, like do this, that. And then just taking those steps as an artist to just really just put yourself into the music as much as you possibly can.
Yep. And being willing to learn at every step of the way, eh?
Yeah, fully, like being willing to like realize that you're fallible, I'm bad for it. Like I'm at the moment of being called out, like I'm like nah, I'm fucking on. Like, you can't say I'm wrong. This song's amazing. Like, I'm like, no way. But, you know, it's about being able to walk away and reflect and go, you know what, yeah, I was wrong.
You know, like understanding, okay, that's another opinion. I may or may not agree on it, but I'm going to take it in stock and then see what that means to me upon listening
Yeah,
to
fully.
it,
Like,
digesting it.
that's really happened to me with this new Bad Taste album, especially because we're such perfectionists, both of us. Yeah. So, like, whenever we work on something, we're both, like, real, like, down on our ideas. And to a point, it's like, yeah. But then it gets to the real final ideas, and Dave will be like, oh, yeah, I want to do this. I'm like, oh, I don't know about this. And he's like, no, I want to do this. And I'm like, I have to like, oh, okay, he really wants to do this. And I like take stock and think about it. And, you know, usually after I take stock for a couple of days and think about it, I'm like, actually, that was a really good idea.
Sweet.
Yeah.
Exactly, yeah. You just don't know until you actually do it, or
it's about stepping out of the perspective, It's so easy to just get up in your own head, like,
and just get, I need to do this now.
Yeah.
And then losing track of kind of, it's a creative process.
Yeah, man, especially as a recording artist. Like, I think one of the best things you can possibly do as a recording artist is outsourcing your shit. Because, like, until you're doing that, it's so much like, oh, is it perfect? And you can always tweak it a little bit more. You're like, oh, tweak it a bit more. If you're outsourcing your mastering or whatever, then, like, they've got the final say.
Got you.
And I think that's a real useful thing to do.
Otherwise,
when you don't quite know what you want, at least after a point,
you get familiar and
you'll be like, all right, I know what I fucking want. Like, this is how I want it. But I think it's a real valuable thing to do when you're starting out as a musician and you don't necessarily have all the tools. Is to be able to admit, hey, I don't have all the tools. I don't have all the skills. Let's outsource this. Let's create a really cool package overall.
No, that's awesome, man. I'm looking forward to it, bro. The last thing on the show is it's a sort of Kiwi show. It's a Kiwi platform, and if we don't put on for other Kiwi musicians, then what are we doing?
Oh, shit.
I know we've talked about a lot of your stuff. We've mentioned a few artists, but if you were to pick like a Kiwi track, what would you play to ride out on, bro? Like, it's our opportunity just to put it on and slowly build this kind of, you know, this playlist that we've got going on.
A track by someone.
Who
have we had on there already?
On the pod?
On the playlist?
Oh, well, we've had a few people. Who we had? We've had Scribe. We had Scribe twice. We had some Choice Vaughn. We had some 660. We've even had some 650. Shout out to the bro. So we had all sorts. But what is maybe your favourite kind of Kiwi song? Or
have we had...
whatever, bro.
Ooh...
It's always a hard one, this one.
Yeah,
it's like, people are like, what do I choose? What do I choose?
I'm going to go with Morning Light by Concord Dawn.
Oh, bro.
It's a bit of a classic, isn't it?
Man, I remember that. That was like 2009, 10.
Such a heavy, dark, emotive song. Like, it's a powerful piece of drum and bass that.
Oh,
like, that's just off top, you know. Like, we're just going classics, you know.
Oh, that's awesome. But, bro, honestly.
Because I could put on for heaps of artists. But
like, that one means something to you.
Yeah, that's like a tune, man.
Their albums, it's fire.
Me and Snowman actually played that. We were booked by my homie to play a drum and bass show. Me and Snowman actually played A Morning Light and rapped over it. It's pretty hard.
Oh, man, that's awesome, bro.
It's pretty legendary. But yeah, man, it's just such a dense, powerful, atmospheric piece of jungle with just like hard-hitting drums, you know. And like, you know, it has to be really heard at 4 a.m. on a massive rig to be fully appreciated.
But yeah, man, you can't. This is not going to give you justice, but at least like you got it in your ears when you listen to this. But honestly, bro, shout out to your time and safe travels back down to Welly and much success for the Bad Taste and up and beyond. You know what I mean?
Big ups, Assorted.
Awesome, bro. Shot, bro. But play Morning Light. Shout out to everyone who's tuning in, listen to us, and check out Young Gho and Casper and everything that he does, because he does a lot of awesome stuff. So shout out, guys. Catch you on the next one.
Big ups.